You only ever smell your own house when you walk back in after a few days away. Company smells it every day. And the plug-in refills I've seen run $3, $4 a piece, a can of spray $5 or $6, and by evening, the house smells the way it did before. So I've got 9 ways out of your own kitchen, and number 1 is my grandmother's secret recipe for a homemade room freshener. Let's get into it. Number 9. This one goes inside your vacuum cleaner. Tear a cotton ball in half and put a few drops of vanilla extract on it. Then tuck it down inside the machine. A vacuum takes air in the front and pushes it back out the other side, so every pass you make down the hallway is moving that smell around the room with it. It can go in the bag or in the cup you empty, either one. Just keep it off the filter. Get the filter wet and the air can't get through it, and the machine loses its pull. You vacuum the way you were going to anyway, and the room smells warm by the time you wind up the cord. Number 8. The night you fry fish, or cook cabbage, or somebody lets the toast go black, the whole downstairs knows about it. A bowl of plain white vinegar left out overnight can take the edge off that, and I've found it does its best work on a fried supper or a kitchen full of smoke. So pour white vinegar into 2 or 3 small bowls, about ½ an inch in the bottom of each, and set them where the smell is worst. One up on the counter by the stove, one in the next room if it got that far, and every one of them up where a small child can't reach over and tip it. Leave them there overnight and pour them out in the morning. Use the white and not the apple cider, because that one has a smell of its own that stays behind. It doesn't do the same on every smell in the house, and I won't tell you it does. But you'll smell the vinegar for an hour or so, and in the morning last night's fish has gone with it. Number 7. Tomorrow morning, don't dump the coffee grounds, but dry them out first, because wet grounds go moldy inside of a week, and then you've made yourself a worse smell than the one you started with. Spread them on a sheet pan or a piece of foil and give them a full day. Then tip them into an open jar and push it to the back of the refrigerator, which is where I've seen them do the most good, because that's a small closed box and everything in there has been sharing air with the leftovers all week. Grounds are dry and full of little holes, so they can take up some of what's floating around them, and what's left smells like a coffee pot, which nobody has ever complained about. Tuck a second jar into the cabinet under the kitchen sink where the air sits still. Swap them for a fresh batch about once a month. That's a whole month out of grounds you were going to throw away. Number 6. Here's a smell nobody can place when they walk in the door. There's no pie in the oven and nothing on the stove, and the room still smells like somebody has been baking in it all afternoon. I've been told this is what the real estate people do before an open house, and I believe it. It's the same cotton ball and the same few drops as the vacuum, except this one doesn't go anywhere. Set it in a little dish or an old jelly jar, and stand that up on a high shelf where the cat and the dog can't get at it. Another one rides in the cup holder of the car. Don't leave the cotton ball lying out loose where an animal can pick it up. Leave it in the dish and not straight down on the shelf, because vanilla leaves a brown ring on painted wood and it does not come off. It holds 3 or 4 days, and when it starts to fade, you put a couple more drops on the same cotton ball. Real extract or imitation, either one does this job, so use whichever bottle is standing in your cupboard. One thing before we go on, there's more of this than ever fits in one video, so I put it all into a book over at thehannahbrooks.com. If you want it, it's there. That's all. Number 5. There's the milk that got away from you in the back of the refrigerator and the freezer nobody's cleared out in a while. That's the sour smell this one is for. Most of us have a box of baking soda standing in the refrigerator door with the top torn open, and the only part of it doing any work is the little bit you can see through that opening. Take it out and pour it into a shallow dish, a saucer, a cereal bowl, an old margarine tub with the lid off. The more of it that's touching the air, the more it can take up. I gave you this same box for your carpets a while back. You sprinkle a little over the carpet, vacuum it back up, and the smell comes up with it. In a dish, it just sits still and works on the air instead. Put one back in the door where the box was, and set another down in the freezer. If the coffee jar is already in there, pick one or the other, because the soda goes after that sour smell and the coffee leaves a coffee smell behind. It takes its time, so give it 2 or 3 days before you decide anything. Change it out every couple of months, and when you do, don't throw it in the trash. Send it down the kitchen drain with a kettle of hot water behind it, and it freshens the drain on its way past. Number 4. Pull a wool coat out of a bin that's been shut since April, and you smell the bin before you smell the coat. One little sack tucked in there, and that doesn't happen. Take one of those old socks that lost its match, or a square cut off a worn-out pillowcase. Fill it with half a cup of plain rice and a couple of spoonfuls of baking soda. Then add what you want it to smell like: a broken up cinnamon stick, a spoon of whole cloves, or a few dried lavender heads off the plant out front. Tie the top with a bit of string. If you'd rather see it than hide it, use a small jar with holes punched through the lid. Put one down in that coat bin and tuck another in with the sweaters. The rice holds on to the scent, so it lets go a little at a time instead of all at once. Every time you open that bin or that drawer, give it a squeeze in your hand and it wakes back up. Tie it good and tight and keep it where the dog can't get at it, because whole cloves aren't for a dog or a child to be chewing on. Come October, you pull that coat out and it smells like the spice cupboard instead of the bin. Number 3, save your peels. Orange, lemon, grapefruit, whatever gets eaten at your house this week. You open the jug to wipe a counter and the whole kitchen smells like a pickle jar. That's why most folks give up on vinegar. The peels take care of that part, and what you're left with is the spray you'll reach for every day. Drop them in a quart jar, pour plain white vinegar over the top until they're covered, put the lid on, and set the jar in the back of a cupboard for 2 weeks. Then strain it and mix it half and half with water in a spray bottle. There's oil in a citrus peel, the same oil that gets on your fingers when you peel an orange, and 2 weeks sitting in the vinegar pulls it out. So the vinegar does the cleaning and the peel handles the smell. Wipe your counters with it, but keep it off granite, marble, any natural stone counter, and off wood floors that aren't sealed, because vinegar can dull and eat into every one of those. Then go around the trash can lid, the doorknobs, and the light switches, spraying the cloth and never the switch. Somebody who comes in an hour later just thinks you've been peeling oranges. Number 2, this one is the straight swap for the plug-in. It sits in a room and works all day without a thing plugged in, and 1 jar of it runs 3 or 4 weeks. Boil a cup of water. Stir in 1 envelope of unflavored gelatin until it's all dissolved. Then a tablespoon of salt, which helps keep it from going moldy on you later. Take it off the heat and stir in what you want to smell. A tablespoon of vanilla, or the peel of an orange squeezed hard over the pot, or 15 or 20 drops of a scented oil if you keep one. Pour it into a jelly jar or a coffee mug nobody drinks out of anymore, and leave it on the counter overnight to set up. By morning, it's firm, like a bowl of Jell-O. Stand it up on a high shelf in the bathroom or on top of a bookcase in the hall. As the water dries out of it, the smell comes out with it, and when the jar has shrunk down to nothing, you make another. If you ever see fuzz starting on the top of one, throw that jar out and start a fresh one. It looks exactly like something a child would eat, so it goes on a high shelf, away from the children and away from the dog. And a jar like this sits out in the open air for weeks at a time. So in a house with a cat or a bird, make it the vanilla one and leave the oil out of it altogether. The only thing in that wall socket now is the lamp. Number 1, set a small saucepan on the stove with water about 2/3 of the way up. Add the peel off an orange, a cinnamon stick, or a good spoonful of the ground kind, 5 or 6 whole cloves, and a splash of vanilla. Apple peels and cores if you've been baking. A sprig of rosemary if you keep the plant on the sill. Bring it up to a boil, turn it down to the lowest setting your stove will hold, and leave the lid off. 10 minutes in, you'll smell it in the next room. In half an hour, it's made its way upstairs too. Warm water lifts the oil out of the peel and the spice and carries it up with the steam, and steam gets into the places a spray never reaches: the curtains, the rug, the coats hanging by the door. Now here's the part you have to get right. That pot only runs while you're home. Turn the burner off anytime you leave the house, even for a quick errand. Look in on it every 20 minutes and top the water back up, because a pan that boils dry will scorch, and then the house smells like a scorched pan, and you've lost the pan besides. If you want one going all afternoon, use the slow cooker instead, on low with the lid off, and keep the water up in that one the same way. When you're finished, let it cool, pour the whole business into a jar, and keep it in the refrigerator. You can heat that same batch up again 2 or 3 days in a row until there's no smell left in it. My grandmother had a little pot like that going on the back of her stove most of the winter, and you could smell that pot before you got your coat off. Now, here's the part nobody much wants to hear. Some of those 9 take a smell out of the air, and the rest put a good one into the room, but not one of them gets at whatever is making it. So while the pot is going, do the 4 things that actually fix it. Take the trash out before it's full, and wipe out the bottom of the can while the bag is off it, because that's where the smell is coming from. Do the kitchen drain. And I've given you the frozen vinegar cubes for the disposal before, so put them to work. Get the towels, the bath mats, and the dog bed through the wash, because damp cloth holds a smell longer than anything else in the house. And open 2 windows across from each other for 10 minutes, even in February, even up here. It's the cheapest thing on this whole list, and it's the one I forget the most. 10 minutes of cold air does more than anything you can carry home in a bag. 9 of them, and there's nothing fancy in a single one. Peels, a pot, and a little bit of attention, and that's how a house smelled good long before there was a whole aisle of it at the store. So tell me down in the comments what goes in your pot. Orange and clove, apple and cinnamon, lemon and rosemary. A good many of these came to me from you to start with, and I read every single one. And if this sort of thing is useful at your house, go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on the notifications too. There's more of them coming, and they all start in a cupboard you already have. Looks like YouTube has another money saver waiting for you up there. Go on and give it a look, and I'll see you over there.